For the purpose of what? Procreation. You know, advancement of the species. You know, and that's the way it works. You know, so that's what. So that means that you can fall in love 2 or 3 times a day. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do anything about it, right? I mean, because you can fall in love after you are with your wife. Is that possible? You think it's possible that you might be attracted, find someone else attractive?
You bet. I fell in love yesterday morning.
That's what I'm talking about. You know, I mean, so the process of falling in love is not necessarily what makes the relationship, but it's the beginning of a relationship. You know, that's how you began the relationship with your wife. You know, and if you're still breathing and have a pulse, you know, you will fall in love from time to time. You know, maybe at least once a day. You can look at television and fall in love a couple of times. You know, you can be out and you can go to the mall and fall in love. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to act on everything that you feel. Okay? And so what is love? So what is love? Looking at it from that point of view. Looking at love as a verb instead of just as a noun. What is love? Love is a lot of things, but one way you can think of love is, and certainly this could fit spiritually and physically. You know, so I'm talking about both things, even if I don't say both things all the time. I'm talking about both. Love is an investment of time and energy into someone else for their development. That's one way to put it, isn't it? You know, love is the time and the energy that you put into your children for their development. It didn't particularly benefit you directly, did it? Hello? It was for them that you did it. You know? Now that we have an idea of what love looks like in a tangible sense, let's look at who the author of love is. Who is the author of love? God is the author of love. He's the essence of love. His word gives us an in-depth description of how genuine love expresses itself. According to 1 Corinthians 13, often referred to as the love chapter, you know, and I really, let me just put this in while we go along. It just seems like to me, a lot of times, people don't talk, especially in church, about love and relationships until someone is getting ready to get married. Right? Some churches, I don't know, maybe not yours, but some churches, and they have that marriage counseling, you know, before they get married. I think that relationships in church needs to start talking about it when they're about 10. You know, the same way you did with your child. You didn't wait until your child got ready to get married before you first started talking about relationships, did you? If you were like me, you started when they were about 10. Okay, anyway, love is patient, love is kind, love does not envy. It does not boast, not rude, not self-seeking, not easily angered, keeps no record of wrongs, does not delight in evil, not proud, rejoices in truth, always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres, never fails, is consistent.
Right.
If you want to know what it is, that's what love is. And how do I know? Because God told me, that's how I know. He told me. Now, you know yourself that in addition to positive forces that are around us all the time, there are also negative forces around us. Now, these negative forces go by various names. Some people call them demons, some people call them the devil, some people call it evil, you know. I know we don't talk about it very often, you know, but it exists. Whether you believe it or not, you don't even have to believe it. Matter of fact, it's wonderful for them if you don't believe it, you know, isn't it? Yeah. Because then they can do a sneak attack on you, you know. Now, why do I bring this up? I bring this up because it would seem to me that every one good and wonderful thing that God plants on earth for our delight, there are evil forces that put up a look-alike to confuse us. Does that make sense? you know? And so, while God created love, there are evil forces that promote lust. And sometimes they look alike. Sometimes they both feel good, but they are very different. And inasmuch as I've given you some adjectives from 1 Corinthians to describe love, we should look at what lust looks like. Lust is impulsive, cruel, manipulative, seeks more than it can, than it earns, builds self at others' expense, easily threatened, disrespectful, demanding, fickle and unfaithful, temperamental, does not forget or forgive, commits wrongs to get its own way, encourages dishonesty, lacks concern for others, is suspicious and jealous, does not forgive, backs out quickly, and is insecure. So here's the thing. When I was doing couples therapy, or if I am talking to someone in my class, because I do bring this to Hampton University, and I talk to my students about it, because I wish someone had talked to me about it back in the day, and if they complain about their boyfriend or girlfriend, I said, well, maybe you need to check and see if you're in love or are you in lust. Maybe what you think is love is really lust. Oh, he argues all the time. He slaps you around all the time. Maybe that isn't love. He brings up all the things that you've done wrong, the stuff that you did 6 months ago or a year ago. Individualistic culture tend to go from a state of dependency as children to independence, right? And for a lot of us, we hold the state of independence as the ultimate state of maturity, right? That is not the ultimate state of maturity for a married man. Because if you are independent, you won't be able to relate to your wife. You cannot have an independent wife and an independent husband. What do you have to have? Intra-dependent. Intra-dependent. And see, people sometimes forget that. That independence is not the highest form or the highest display of maturity if you want to be married. But intra-dependence is. So it's like being dependent, growing to be an independent. Being intra-dependent, you have to come down a little bit from your independence, don't you? And you have to somehow put together your dependence and your independence so that you learn how to be intra-dependent. I mean, that's not in my book, but I just thought I'd throw that in. Because I think it's important, because this is something that we're going to have to tell our sons and daughters. Independence is not going to make you happily married. It's not going to work. All right, now, having said that, there are other skills that you need to have in order to have a successful marriage. You need some interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills deal with skills between you and someone else, right? Interpersonal. Compassion would be nice, don't you think? Caring, it would be nice if you could learn to care for someone else. Generosity would be good. Being other-centered, So that would be the exact opposite of being egocentric. All right. Confiding, trust, loyalty, and the expression of affection. See, I don't need anyone else to give me a compliment, really, because I know you're going to find this hard to believe. My wife thinks I'm cute. I know. Have to use your imagination. This is love, She didn't have her glasses on when she said it. I don't know if that had impact.